Welcome in to a Thursday edition. Sniped right on the starting line.
Jeez.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Not used to 7:02. What can I say?
Look at that.
Hey.
New studio.
Nice work right there by Lloyd, our producer.
You know,
Motivation, a little shot in the ass.
I was here at 6:30 this morning. Yesterday.
I was here for 24 hours straight.
I've done that before too.
Right about it. John Brady is going to be here coming up at 7:30 this morning. Coach Brady, a great call at the end of the Kentucky game. As Slap McCollorum, we see you there with the $20 super chat. Thank you and good morning. Thank you for starting your day with us. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. We are here until 9 a.m. this morning. We got a text into Brody Miller. Probably a little early for Brody. As soon as he kind of wakes up, we'll see.
I think he's still sleeping from the recruiting deal.
Yeah, covering LSU football this season. He's in hibernation. We'll talk to him about LSU's offseason. Brian Kelly taking over. Hearing some really good things about John Emery.
Yes, we are.
As good things trending around John Emery. Had somebody ask me yesterday, what's all this with John Emery? Ever heard of Frank Wilson? Wilson back home doing work now as good things happening with Emery, and that running back room may shape up to be a really good one before next season.
Some surprises.
John Brady going to be here at 7:30. LSU basketball to host Tennessee tomorrow. We'll ask him about Kentucky. We'll even ask him about the road trip to Auburn, get his thoughts on just kind of the pecking order of the SEC up to this point, and after seeing a couple of the top squads where LSU fits in, we'll also get a preview around the Volunteers, and speak a little more about this LSU football roster as that has kind of dominated the short offseason. We'll continue to talk about that, but Brian Kelly now in firm control of the program and going to start implementing his guys and getting this coaching staff firmed up. So we'll talk all about that coming up here. Remember, daily we're brought to you by True Blue Water. TRUBluewater.com if you want to jump on the delivery route today. Our coffee, Majestic Coffee, with Mike, which Matuk has dominated 2 rows in a row, 2 days in a row. My man has.
Y'all didn't see the incident that just happened this morning? It had nothing to do with the coffee
I did hear
machine.
some cleaning up. I did hear some wiping around the sink.
We need to get.
Is it beans or grounds?
No, we need some more. We need some filters.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the little built-in filter doesn't it sticks, and so I was trying to clean it, and I missed. So I had to clean the ground.
Fastball high and outside.
Yeah,
high and outside.
Yeah, I fouled it off. Not good.
Rob Boudreaux, $5 super chat. Thank you, Robbie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hit that like, hit that dislike, hit that share, comment. We appreciate you starting your day here. And remember, Papa Earl's the official spice of the Jordy Culotta Show. Check him out wherever you shop locally at Calandro's, High Neighbors, Rouse's. 30% less sodium than the competition. Papa Earl's the official spice of the Jordy Culotta Show, and our phone line is brought to you by our friends over at Metropolitan Health Group.
A lot of people don't know you're actually drinking Papa Earl's. It's not water.
Yes.
It's just the spice.
The spice.
Yeah.
You got. It's good. It's good for the pores.
It is. Opens you up.
Opens you
Tangy.
A little cayenne.
Everybody good?
Everybody good?
Everybody good?
Everybody great?
Yeah.
You good?
Big day yesterday for Matuk down in Lafayette as he goes home, which is always a fun trip, but looks like mic'd up, going to get off the ground, bro.
Yeah, Mike helps.
Oh, LaFonda's?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That was
There's
the
a reason
initial.
they put
Kiss
those
the ring.
margaritas in
We had
that
the first table.
Kiss the
today.
ring,
We had the first
yes.
table yesterday. Yeah.
Uncle Ronnie, I owe you. Yeah, I know you do. But I always a great trip to go home with Matuk to Lafayette. But a little bit about Mic'd Up, just to tell you that we have things, the wheels are in motion behind the scenes and should be coming your way. January 17th was what we were looking at.
That is
what we were
the
looking at?
target. I know.
Yeah.
I know. The suits of our company don't like the hard deadlines, but you know what? We like it.
Yeah.
We put the pressure on. We have the structure of the show. We're trying to make it a little bit more detailed oriented for y'all. But
You can't run a race without a finish line, my
yep,
friend.
exactly. So we have a target date in sight. We have some really cool interviews. Some little inside, some inside deals that happened. Some of my friends that are still playing, that aren't playing. You can learn a little bit about the lockout. It's not going to just be about baseball. It's going to be about all sports nationally, not just here locally. Obviously, LSU holds a very, very close place in my heart. So it'll be impossible for me not to
Choked
talk.
up.
Yeah, see, it'll be impossible for me not to talk about LSU, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be you're gonna get a little bit different insight, and we have some things cooking with the LSU baseball team. So
Exciting stuff, man, really. And it has been exactly that since we've moved in to the new studio over here at it is the Jordy Culotta Show, but it's under the umbrella of FM Digital Media, which will be, mic'd up as a part of that. We're talking to some other shows that we're hoping to develop, and it's not just around sports. So really, if
Politics.
you're out there, we've talked to a couple of you out there about some.
let's put that one down.
I'm going to host that one.
Yeah, be a group chat.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of cool stuff that's happening over here that this space allows us to do. I think some of you saw the other night when we had the watch party around the Kansas State LSU football game. We've got a room that we really, have the capability to do some cool stuff. Around March Madness, the Super Bowl, things like that.
We're gonna eventually have a bar.
Yeah.
At some point, obviously we just moved. We're just here, so we're gradually. This was the priority number one, and I mean we have some things up in the kitchen right now that you're just gonna prepare, and you're seasoning a little bit. You're letting it marinate, and then put that thing in the oven. Be good.
So, football season should be very exciting around here. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the comment button. All right, LSU basketball going to play against Tennessee on Saturday, and that should be another great atmosphere for LSU. But before you get there, we've talked about this week, right, in basketball around South Louisiana. And one of those highlighted games is tonight, and it's LSU women's taking on University of South Carolina, number one team in the country, in town. Two of the most dominant personalities and coaches, not only in women's sports, but really overall in sports. When you think about Dawn Staley at University of South Carolina, a former player standout, now a Hall of Famer coach, Kim Mulkey, a Hall of Fame player, a Hall of Fame coach, on opposite sidelines, going against each other at the Maravich Center, right? At LSU, on LSU's campus tonight. Should be a incredible atmosphere. Dale Brown was honored a couple of nights ago. Seimone Augustus will be honored tonight.
How much of a baller
when
was
she was the best. She was the best. I'm telling you, she was the absolute best that I ever saw. I tell this story whenever her name comes up. She used to come down to the dungeon, and for those that you that do not know or may be new to the program, there is a within LSU's basketball arena. There is a practice court off to the side, nicknamed the Dungeon, because you got to go down a series of steps to get down there. And even if you kind of park behind the Maravich Center, there's a stairwell behind the playing surface that you can access it by walking down. And there has been some of the absolute best pickup games that the campus has ever seen have been played down there.
I can imagine.
Everybody from Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Jackson all the way through Big Baby Tyrus Thomas and all of them, everybody in between, and just hundreds and countless of more names that have come through there in the offseason and played down there. Seimone Augustus used to come down to the Dungeon when she was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade against summer pickup games, which featured football players, track stars. I mean, there was just baseball players. There were a collection of high-end elite athletes on campus that would meet up there every summer and play. And Seimone, as a middle schooler, would run the place. She was the first person, not girl, person I ever saw live bring the ball up the court, and she dribbled it between her legs the entire time she brought it up the court. Like the other team scored in the Dungeon, they threw it into her, and she was running point guard. And the entire time she walked the ball up the floor, she just crossed the ball in between her legs, and she made it look
hot sauce,
like she was just skipping down the street. And she couldn't have been but in 7th grade, and came down and would work people. I mean, like, embarrass people at a young age. And then when she got to LSU, I had the chance, and we can talk to John Brady about this because Brady will be here at 7:30, and Brady was running a really good program the 4 years that Seimone was in town, and the respect that his teams would have for the women's team during that time period, I thought was one of the coolest things that I had a chance to see up close and kind of behind the scenes, was how much respect Daryl Mitchell, Glenn Davis, Tyrus Thomas, Tack Minor, I mean, all of these guys had for going and watching the women's game. Brandon Bass and Seimone Augustus are like brother and sister. They were on Capitol High School's campus at the same time. Both of them McDonald's All-Americans. Both of them are, recognized from a national scene. There is no athlete that I have more pride in being from the same area and being from the state of Louisiana more than Seimone Augustus. I mean, the way that she represented us all the way back from the time when she was on the cover of Sports Illustrated for women, when she was in 9th grade at Capitol High School, through her days at LSU, all the way up through her WNBA days, and now as a coach with the Los Angeles Sparks. She deserves a statue at LSU. Like, I mean, if we're talking about all this statue talk, I mean, they should have built boroughs by now. But Seimone Augustus should have a statue somewhere around the Pete Maravich Assembly Center because of because of what she gave us. I mean, what she has given the fan base, what she has done for the women's program. I mean, and for them to honor her tonight, first off, is great marketing, because that will bring out just about every LSU
Stars,
women's basketball fan that exists in this area. Not to mention that the number one team in the country is going to be on the floor opposite the sideline of LSU. But to bring Seimone in tonight, honor her in a game like that, this atmosphere should be like electric. I mean, like, they might blow the top off this place when they introduce her. I would think so. I would think so. Right?
Sylvia Fowles going to be there too, right?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned statues, and that's what kind of Kim Mulkey was getting at. She's like, I want to bring her back. We're retiring the jersey, excuse me. And she's like, then she did the same thing you did. She's like, why don't we have a statue of Seimone? Where's my statue of Sylvia Fowles? So you're simpatico with what LSU women's basketball wants, and usually what Kim Mulkey wants, Kim Mulkey gets.
Well, here's the thing. LSU women's basketball has some of the greatest players of in the history of women's basketball. Seimone Augustus is one of the best players that's ever played collegiate basketball in the women's game. And Sylvia Fowles, same thing. Like, Sylvia Fowles kind of like, she was that, I mean, I don't want to say the first, but like, she was the one that she was 6'5". She was dunking, like,
revolutionized the sport a little bit.
Yeah, like she was. I mean,
but you know why you got Sylvia?
Because it's Seimone.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
I mean,
no doubt.
That was the only reason why.
Bro, I would watch when they were in making those Final Fours with Seimone. I was glued to the team.
Man. Seimone,
glued to it.
I would watch Seimone in the WNBA.
Yeah.
She's must-watch television when she's on. When she's right, she got some injuries late in her WNBA career that changed her game a little bit. But when she was at the peak of her game and she was healthy out there, she's must-watch television.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really, she is. The way that she can handle the ball, it's almost – I didn't see Pistol Pete in person. I've seen the movies and I've seen the clips. She puts the ball on a string. I mean, like, the ball is like a yo-yo to her, the way that she can just – I mean, she embarrasses people with a basketball. So good on LSU women's basketball tonight for honoring the best to ever do it in the city, in the state of Louisiana, throughout the women's program. And in the WNBA. She had an unbelievable career. So she'll be back tonight. And the ladies deserve all of the attention, right? Like, this team deserves all of our attention and all of our support because of what they have accomplished in just one season and the way that this thing is turned around. No doubt. And for them to get the number one team in South Carolina. And look, they kind of catch them at a right time. Have you read the press on South Carolina? They're kind of banged up by COVID. I mean, they're leaving like players at home. So, I mean, I'm not saying that South Carolina is, going to be an easy task tonight, but they're beatable. Like, this is a beatable team, and with the confidence that Mulkey is going to have.
And playing at home?
Oh, you get that? I mean, like, where they're coming from, and the confidence that they have going into this game. I mean, it kind of sets up for a beautiful night when you think about Sills there. Simone's there. Number one team's a little hurt, a little banged up, don't have all their roster available. Kim Mulkey's on the sideline.
Oh,
you know what I
whiteout,
mean? Like
yeah.
it's gonna be electric in there.
It's gonna be fun.
It'll be fun. It'll be
gonna be
fun.
Do you think Kim participates in the whiteout? She's got to have an outfit.
Yes. Are you
Absolutely.
kidding?
Bro, she is going to.
Are you kidding?
She is gonna strut out of that locker room, and she is gonna walk with the swagger that only Kim Mulkey can walk out with,
Absolutely.
and dressed looking like a fucking baller. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Let's get some coffee,
I'm
dude.
sorry I had to, but looking like a baller.
She's gonna look like an
Like a
evangelical
boss.
preacher,
Dude,
dude.
I mean,
When they announced her at the men's basketball game, and she's sitting down there, and I'm sitting down, and Allie looks at me, she goes, Kim's got it. I'm like, yeah, she's got it. Like
got that
she knows,
swag.
she
She's got
feels it.
swag.
Like
Yeah.
she's waving, she's doing this. Like she just has that presence, and she's not a big woman. Like she's not like she doesn't like take your breath away with her presence, but like her aura.
Yeah.
It's like wow, she's got it.
Robbie Boudreaux with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Robbie. We'll talk a little LSU men's basketball with John Brady coming up here at 7:30 this morning as Coach Mulkey and the crew will host South Carolina in what will be a great atmosphere tonight. We'll talk to Coach about the turnaround and his thoughts from the women's group, but also start to zone in on Tennessee and what he thinks about the Volunteers coming in here with Rick Barnes as the head coach on Saturday, 5 o'clock. I think it is going to be a really great atmosphere for LSU as when you look at what the environments have been like leading up to this one with a lot on the line. And look, man, I kind of like opening up conference like this.
Me too.
Where everything's a fight.
Yeah.
You know, everything is kind of a heavyweight match.
Especially with the type of non-conference that we had. Like you already came in with a little bit of confidence, and you're like, hey, you know what? We've shown that we can beat the teams that we're supposed to beat. Put us in front of teams that are good, and just throw us into the fire because that's the best way. And even if you start to see, I don't think we're going to, but even if you were going to start the season 3-6 or 2-4, whatever it is, like that's the hardest part of your schedule.
Yeah.
Now you go after and God forbid you start the season 5-1 or 5-2, and like, boy, you're in a good position.
And these are such days that build the team, kind of like the pedigree of what you're going to be in the next couple of weeks and months. Like, I mean, when you're in March and look back on a road trip at Auburn or opening up home schedules against Kentucky or even like that Bossier City game against Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, that has been there has been some really great opportunities for LSU to kind of build the character of who they're going to be late in the season, because I think that's really what a basketball season is. I mean, I watched Florida last night against Alabama. They're really impressive. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean,
they're
like
in the top 15 this whole season, right?
Yeah. I mean, Arkansas. I mean, they even when we looked at the schedule as a whole going into the year, we looked at the first three, right? Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, and everybody thought, wow, that's an incredible start. But I mean, you keep going down the schedule. I mean, they're at Florida on January 12th. They're home versus Arkansas on January 15th. They're at Coleman Coliseum against Alabama on January 19th. They're back on the road against Tennessee on January 22nd. I mean, it's like an SEC football schedule. It really is. I mean, it feels like an SEC football schedule where there's no let up. There's no, all right, we can get right. You can get right in this game, right? Like, I mean, there's no road trips to Tennessee within the next couple of weeks, and you got the Volunteers at home on Saturday. I mean, there's just it's a relentless schedule.
Well,
and we'll talk to Brady about it as well here coming up at 7:30.
It speaks to the depth of the SEC.
I was about to say it. I mean, because if you would have said this 2 or 3 years ago, you could be able to go through the schedule and you could find some wins, especially because LSU was kind of on the forefront of being able. They hired a good head coach first, and it seemed like they were, it was Kentucky, then LSU was trying to get into that mix.
Yeah.
Now it seems like Kentucky's there, Florida's there, LSU's there, Arkansas is there, Alabama is there. Like it really, you say SEC football, SEC basketball is probably the strongest. One of the strongest conferences in the league, and
It
you'd be
has
able
to
to
be.
say that.
Look at the numbers of teams that they put into the league,
tournament.
into the tournament.
And I don't want to speak blasphemous on SEC football, but I would argue this year SEC basketball is stronger than the SEC
Deeper,
football.
for sure. For
Like,
sure.
Top
Deeper.
to bottom.
Top to bottom,
I mean,
yeah.
look,
For sure.
we talked about Auburn. We think Auburn could be a top team in the country.
They could win the national
Right?
championship.
No without question.
So that's the top. And then you got Alabama, who's in the top 10, or at least was. I don't know if they still are. But you have, 6 teams in the top 25? Like, that's
That's strong, coach.
That's strong.
Last year they put 7 teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like
They probably did it again this year.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that they would be the odds-on favorite to do that. I mean, the conference is. I look. It does. It feels like SEC football, but when you say it out loud, it's actually deeper than SEC football. I mean, it really is.
Well, the SEC has 2 teams playing in the national championship.
Right.
I mean, look, the top. I mean, obviously the top part of the SEC.
There's just kind of a fall off.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's not so much of a fall off in basketball. I mean,
That's on us, SEC. Our bad. LSU will get it right. Sorry, boys.
Yeah. Right.
It's okay. It's an attrition. It's a war of an attrition.
Yeah.
Speaking of football, a couple of surprising stories over the last couple of days, and we are brought to you daily by GoFlow. Remember, GEAUX Flow IV.com, GoFlowIV.com, GEAUX FlowIV.com. They're located on Jefferson Highway. Holidays have come and gone. If you need a little boost, a little pick-me-up after the holidays, some energy booster to get you through the start of 2022. Get over to Baton Rouge's premier medical spa, who specializes in IV hydration treatments with vitamin infusion. I'm talking about GoFlow IV, GEAUX Flow. IV.com, GoFlowIV.com. They offer memberships over there. That's on 3-month, 6-month, and annual time periods and time commitments. If you suffer from chronic dehydration, chronic illness, if you're looking for some help with illness recovery, hangover cures, about replenishing your electrolytes and vitamins after your workout and helping your athletic performance, GoFlow can help you out with all of that. GEAUX Flow, IV.com, GEAUX Flow, IV.com. Surprising story yesterday, Austin Thomas out at LSU football. I think that was one that came across the wire that probably had a lot of people saying, wow, nobody saw that coming. If you looked up and saw, and were paying attention to the game on a couple of nights ago,
Had a headset on.
Austin Thomas had a headset on, on the white.
Get back, coach.
Hey man,
Wow! No, he was not.
Deck,
he was not
baby.
the get back coach. I mean, coach, he looked like
no,
he
he
was
needed
like,
one.
yeah. I mean, he was calling.
If you're gonna fire me, I'm going out swinging. Give me a headset.
I'm calling plays.
John Trey, run the special. Annexation to Puerto Rico.
All hands on deck, boys. That's it. That's what you got.
It was. I was like, is that Austin? But it was crazy to see him in that role.
What was you think he was doing?
I don't know. I really don't. I have no idea. But I think it shows you just kind of the state of where they were, right? Austin, you think you wear a headset tonight? Yeah, why not?
We only have 38 players. Can you keep track of them and tell us who's certain who's not? Just take attendance.
And look, there's no humor in this because I know Austin's got a family, and I think that there's going to be an opportunity for him to remain at LSU. And I know that there is some conversations that are going to be had about the potential of that. So I don't know if if it's completely over the relationship at LSU. I think that maybe the expectations and the job tasks may change with a couple of conversations and a couple of meetings. But Austin in that role being out, I think is surprising because when I looked at this overall move, and Coach Brady's going to come up here in 5 minutes, and I'll probably dive a little bit into this topic, and we'll have to pick it back up after our conversation with John Brady coming up here about LSU basketball in a couple of minutes. But when I looked at this overall process of Ed Orgeron being fired back during the Kentucky week, and this job being open, I thought that there was a couple of people that were very much not untouchable, but that were going to make it through. Brad Davis was one of them. I thought that Brad Davis was really going to be a guy because of the timeline, because of the surrounding circumstances in which James Craig was out and Davis was in, that this was probably, more of a Woodward direct hire than it would have been Ed Orgeron making that hire, just because of the instability that Orgeron even felt during that time period. And that happened back in July, that Craig was out and Davis was in. Very late in the process as far as the season's concerned, but it felt like somebody was making that decision above Ed Orgeron that made a little bit more sense. I thought that Brad Davis would have stuck, and the offensive line improved throughout the season. Yeah. Really, when he was able to implement kind of his strategy and his coaching style, his tactics. The other one was Austin. I really thought that Austin was brought over by Scott Woodward from Baylor at the time. he was with Jimbo and Texas A&M and Woodward in College Station, but then Baylor and Aranda had brought him over in Waco, and that's where LSU had hired him from. And that was, at the time, if we're being completely honest, it was probably Scott Woodward's eyes and ears in the football facility 24 hours a day around Ogeron and Panamsky just to see how messed up it was. And just to give a front line on what the deal was, what was happening. So Woodward's over there a lot, but, somebody to be over there as a constant and a full-time guy, I think is what Scott Woodward was probably looking for. So I thought that he was going to make it through in a similar role that he was placed in. But as we've said a couple of times, since Brian Kelly has been brought aboard, it is clearly his operation. It is clearly his program. And when he was hired, I think some people saw the writing on the wall coming downhill for Austin because of Kelly already having that position filled with his personnel at Notre Dame, who he was going to bring along with him. But yesterday, it becomes official that Austin Thomas is out at that position within LSU football, and it was a little surprising to see.
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of people in the chat love to call you out on your misspoken predictions that he was going to be here, but it was a Woodward guy. I mean, Woodward hired him to be here, and he has had a reputation for being good at what he did, and obviously things change, and you have a new coach and new visions, and stuff happens sometimes. It's not. I don't think that's a indication on like it was a bad hire. Not it's just maybe not the right fit right now. Like you said, there may be a spot for him here.
And Austin Thomas was needed when he was needed, right?
Yeah,
he
right.
loves LSU, and he was coming in, and he knew that there was probably a chance that I might not be retained whenever this comes back. But he wanted to be at LSU, and he wanted to help. But my question is Brad Davis the only person on staff that remained? Is he the only one that made it through to the Brian Kelly? I don't think it's a good or bad thing.
No. I don't think, but I wouldn't even consider Brian Davis part of the old staff because Brad Davis got hired late. Like this is his first year, right?
Right. That's why he and Austin Thomas are in the same vein in my mind. Scott Woodward, it felt like, went out and got Brad Davis,
right? Because
he saw the shit show that was the LSU offensive line, and Coach O and James Craig is like, I'm getting this fixed now.
Well, I also think that the GM position in college football is changing. Right? Like
holistically.
Right. So I think that, that like Austin Thomas being the GM, like he may have a role, but he may not be that GM because that role is now being looked at as an actual general manager position, like in the NFL.
This is what he always wanted in the NFL.
You know what I mean? So like that is that position, that like the title, was always just kind of there, but now the title I think means something, and so I think they're going to look somewhere else and someone that has more qualified.
And it could be something. It could be something he does in the NIL space because you saw what Florida did, where they have for a transfer portal. They have a guy specifically assigned to recruit and evaluate talent in the transfer portal. So Billy Napier already has a guy on staff at Florida to be able to kind of prepare for the transfer portal.
I'm willing to bet that we have someone like that here now.
It could be Austin Thomas. That could be like what you kind of pivot him toward if they want to keep him on staff.
Because
that's what he's good at, right? He's a great talent evaluator.
Well, I think that and as really for what he was brought in for, and I think that at the end of the day, this could have been something that cost him where he was he was in charge, really kind of to restructure the roster when he got here.
A shit sandwich.
He was handed a snowball that was rolling downhill and picking up steam for how bad it was the day, and you had to kind of push it uphill and try and recreate almost something that was totally just indefensible.
You can't rebuild that snowman, dude.
Talking to a couple of people who are on, the new staff, I don't think that people really understood the on-taking of how bad the roster was, in starting this challenge. And I think the 38 people the other night, the 38 roster players, really is a highlight of that. But, it's just from a college football standpoint and trying to build a roster, LSU is in shambles.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I mean, you had Jontre was slinging that thing, man. Like that tells you everything you need to know. Like, you had Pig Cage starting at safety. Like, you have
looking good.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, these guys did what they, but like that was evident. I guess shows you, like, you have a quarterback, your quarterback as a wide receiver, and like I said, thank God we had him there because, boy, the ball was going everywhere. The snaps were not coming to him, so you needed a wide receiver back there catching the ball.
It kind of reminded me of like old school, like fraternity league flag football. Whenever you could kind of pivot and get running, and they could snap it to you, like just get Jontre kind of going a little bit. I think that's what Liam was doing.
Running start.
Get him a little running start.
Hey, you need to go this way. Okay, here we go.
Get him going this way. Roll
no,
right.
it's. I'm happy that we can close the book on this. I'm happy that this is over with, and we have a new regime. We have a new start, and let's move on.
Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Go Chevrolet here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Check out our friends over at Go Chevrolet down in La Place over in Baton Rouge. Go Express Auto Sales was over there with Nikki the other day, Nick Richard. Very helpful, very friendly, trustable. Go see them at Go Chevrolet, Go Express Auto Sales, Florida Boulevard in Sherwood Forest. A phenomenal call by the LSU Sports Radio crew the other night. And LSU was double-dipped as LSU was obviously on the football field. They were hosting Kansas State, so Chris Blair was over there. Patrick Wright was on the call for LSU Kentucky, the basketball game, alongside John Brady, the former Final Four and SEC legend head coach. And Brady was it was vintage.
Can we play it?
It was vintage Brady. I guess why not? Why not?
Can we?
This is compliments of LSUsports.net, LSUsports.net, and LSU Sports Properties.
We're citing our sources.
Yes, this is from LSU Sports Properties, John Brady and Patrick Wright, the last 40 seconds of what was a whirlwind of a college basketball game.
Now to get the ball in bounds. Have to have a nice inbounds play to get the ball in bounds and then just drive the ball up to go hard.
Lob pass way toward the front court. It's intercepted. Sheboy's got it, but his outlet pass trying to go out of bounds, but he stays. Days gets it to Eason. With 14 seconds to go. 3-point lead. Crazy sequence. Kentucky not calling timeout. Multiple stolen. Up ahead. LSU by 5. 4 seconds to go. Shot blocked. Brady will throw it up at the buzzer.
Screaming. I'm like, if she's
Actually,
doing
there's one down. Now the buzzer. It's over.
His whole thing is the way he's talking is
And
exactly
LSU wins 65-60. We'll have to go back and explain all of that.
What are we doing? Oh my God. The whole time.
Let's go to John Brady, who is joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning, sir. Great call. How are you?
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Look, I'm a fan, too, you know.
I love that.
You know, sometimes it's hard to separate it, but that was a bizarre sequence of plays. I don't believe I've ever seen anything quite like that. But it was fun to watch, and glad it worked out for the Tigers.
Let's not do that too much more.
Yeah, well, I don't.
It was a great night, you know, all the way around. I thought it was a wonderful experience there in the PMAC for sure.
How cool was that night for you? That was there was a lot of LSU basketball history in one place. I believe at Phil's Oyster Bar on Tuesday. Johnny Jones and his entire staff was there. You were there. Collis Temple was in there. There was a lot of history of LSU basketball on display for Dale Brown night. The court being commemorated to him. What was that experience like for you before we get to what's happening on the floor right now?
Well, before the game, down in the practice facility, they had a reception for Coach Brown, and the number of players that played for him that were there were, you know, what was really remarkable, and really a lot of respect for Coach Brown with his former players coming as many as they did. And I saw a picture of Mahmoud and Randy Livingston, and you know, two of the best to ever wear the purple and gold, in my opinion, were those two guards. And that's just some of what was there. You know, the Monday night before the game, Coach Brown invited about 18 or 20 people to TJ Ribs. And, called me and wanted me to come, and and I kept trying to back out, but how Coach Brown can be, and so I went there, and Mahmoud was there, and Collis, and Tim Brando and his family, and just some close friends of Coach Brown, and it was an honor to be there as well, and so it was great to see all those guys, man. That's a lot of history of LSU basketball. 25 years of Dale Brown. I mean, there's a lot of great players. Shaq being the best, obviously, and then Mahmoud. Just an array of LSU basketball history was there for 2 days.
John Brady joining us here on the Jordy Culotta Show. That is a cool insight there to what was, I'm sure, a very cool moment for those that were involved. All right, take me real time here. Take me back to Auburn before we talk about Kentucky. What was that environment like? What did you? I was there that night. What was it from your point of view, and what did you learn about LSU in that setting?
Well, first of all, I think Auburn's the most physical team. I think they're better than Kentucky from what I saw. Sometimes you can't tell about a team till you watch them up close and personal, and I really think Auburn, with what I've seen, is the most talented team and the most physical team, and that we've played. LSU, I think, Coach Wade hit it right on the dot. Our first 16 shots on the road against in an environment like that, 11 of them were from the three-point line, and it's not like that's what we hang our hat on, is making three-pointers. So I think our approach offensively, we were a little rushed and probably did some things early on we shouldn't have done that got us behind. But a couple of things. We got the thing to 6 twice, particularly in the second half, and then we turned it over 3 straight times, and they scored 9 points out of those 3 turnovers, or 8 points out of those 3 turnovers, and it went from 6 to 14 in a matter of a minute, and the game was over. But I thought LSU, from a defensive standpoint, played well enough to win the game. I mean, they held Auburn to 70. I really say 68 because the last 2 points didn't really matter one way or the other. So they held them to really under 70 on the road in an environment that's probably as good as any right now in the Southeastern Conference. And I put the PMAC right up there with that when it's rocking like it did the other night. So I thought LSU played pretty well. We didn't shoot it well, but we did cut it to 6 when a lot of teams would have folded, got beat 20, and walked out of there with their heads down. So I think that was an encouraging sign of the toughness and resilience that this team has. And then we come back against Kentucky and hold a team that's averaging 82 a game to 60. And I want to look up and find how many games has Will Wade won in the Southeastern Conference scoring 65 points.
Yeah.
I can't recall one since I've been sitting there calling the game. So 65 points and win in the SEC means you're doing some things well. You're rebounding the ball. You're not turning it over carelessly or needlessly. You're not fouling carelessly or needlessly. And you're playing good defense. You're holding the team to a low field goal stat. And those things are consistent with the LSU team, and that's why I think, regardless, offense may come and go, and we'll have our 80-point nights for sure.
Yeah.
But that the defending and the effort that LSU is playing with consistently on that end of the floor, I think is going to win a lot of games and carry this team a long way.
You were a defensive expert and a defensive coach during your days. What about them do you see right now? I thought it was interesting that Kentucky's assistant coach in the pregame the other night called it junk defenses, and that obviously buzzed the tower of Will Wade because he made a comment about that. But what do you see defensively? Why are they so good on that end?
Well, I think the main thing is they're committed to a stance. You can't guard well if you're not committed to a stance throughout the course of the offensive team's possession, and I think LSU does that. And then the other thing that adds a caveat to good defending is they're able to switch and ball screens, and they switch on the weak side down screens. They change it out. And that switching defense, if done well, a lot of teams can't do it. That's something you've got to teach and introduce players to. That's a tough defense to attack, and you have to throw this out there in this game. Wheeler not playing certainly helped LSU, and I think if Wheeler had been in the game, he would have been able to penetrate on mismatches maybe enter the ball to the post on a mismatch a little bit and help Kentucky's, particularly on the offensive end. I think he would have helped Kentucky. So you got to throw that in the equation when you say LSU won the game. I don't think it's fair to just ignore that fact, but I think Wheeler would have made them better. But I think LSU, from a defensive standpoint, committing to a stance, and they're not fouling carelessly or needlessly, and putting people on the free throw line, and the switching defense without getting beat on slips and those type of offensive maneuvers, I think is really tough to attack. And then coupled, if we score occasionally and get into our three-quarter court press, you know, and you take time off the clock, and a team gets down and they have about 16 or 17 seconds to score it, you don't have to defend as long. And so I think all of those things have led to, you know, outstanding defense. The best defensive team in the country, hands down. And for the Kentucky coach to say junk defense, the defense that LSU is playing is based on sound, well thought out defending and fundamental defense. It has nothing to do with any trickery at all.
Right.
And that guy's on Pluto if he's talking about something like that.
Kermit Davis gave Tennessee everything they wanted last night in overtime, but Tennessee was able to prevail 66-60. What's the challenge the Volunteers present?
Well, you know, Kermit, his best player didn't play, his guard, and Kermit had 27 turnovers and still almost won the game on the road. So I don't know, Jordy. Tennessee looked uncomfortable offensively to me. They seemed to struggle to score it, and they were at home against just an average Ole Miss team. So they're going to roll into the PMAC and try to put up 75 or 80 points. I don't see it with the way LSU is defending. So we'll see. I like LSU at home against Tennessee based on what I watched last night on TV of the Tennessee team. I'm not sold on the SEC just being the best league in the country. You know, Arkansas has faded. Florida's faded. You know, Kentucky's good. You know, I don't know. You know, Auburn, I think, is the best team right now. And then Alabama had a big win at Florida. So those 3 or 4 teams are the best in the league. And then I think after that, you go 5, 6, and 7. I'm looking at maybe Mississippi State moving up to the 5th best team in the league right now. So we'll see as it plays out. But I think the top 4 teams are pretty solidified itself. And I think LSU, if we do what we've been doing, make timely threes, and I think we beat Tennessee. But, you know, I'm based on what I saw, now Tennessee may come in here and do something completely different on what I saw last night. But I think right now, the way LSU is playing, I think we take care of Tennessee, particularly at home.
Yeah.
Coach, what is your evaluation or opinion of how Justice Williams has been playing? I know he kind of got thrown into the fire at Auburn. He played yesterday, and he's a young kid. He's supposed to be a senior in high school, and to me, it seems like he's played great for the situation he's been put in.
Yeah, you know, at Auburn, Will told me he was going to throw him in there. They took the red shirt off. They were going to throw him in there, and I thought he handled that situation pretty well. And I made the comment to Will. I said, well, it's a heck of a place to throw him in there against Auburn on the road. I mean, if you're going to see what a guy's made of, might as well throw him right in the fire. He handled it well, and you know, he was good the other night. He was solid. Didn't make crazy mistakes. Did try to shoot the ball and just try to let the game come to him before he maybe scored a little bit. And I like him. I think he's talented. He's long. He can shoot it. He could be a really good defender once he adapts to the physicalness and speed of the game. I think he'll be a real good defender based on the length that he has. So I think he's going to be a good player. And to have a guy at 17 years old who was going to redshirt this year and sit out to put him out there and have a total change in his mental approach now, I think he's handled it quite well.
I will forever be grateful for the access that you gave me to your program, especially during the 04, 05, 06 3-year window. That was also the time that Seimone Augustus was on campus. And the one thing that stood out about your teams that was so cool was how much dual respect they had for one another, how the guys would always go hang after and watch the women practice. They'd go to all the games. And a lot of that was centered around Seimone Augustus. Obviously, Brandon Bass and Seimone were at Capitol together and McDonald's All-Americans. Can you give our listeners kind of your point of view of Seimone at the time? And they'll honor her tonight at the Maravich Center before number 1 South Carolina goes against Mulkey Mania in the women's crew. But what was that time period like for you with Seimone?
Well, she was a great player, and certainly proved that in the professional game as well. And just, never had an ego about her as far as I could tell about, I'm Seimone Augustus, move over here, I come. She, being a local player like Brandon Bass, that's remarkable that two really outstanding players from the same high school at the same time both came to LSU. I mean, that I don't know if Will Wade can't be that lucky, I guess.
Right.
But that's fortunate to be able to do that. But Seimone was great. Our players all got along with the women, and at that time the women went to 4 straight Final Fours.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they couldn't play, and I think the respect was there on both sides. And I always got along with Sue. I got along with Pokey, and I think when the coaches get along like that, and I think they're going to get along as well. And I think when the coaches get along, it sends a message to the players, and the players, respect one another. And I didn't try to, when they were out there practicing, I didn't want our guys really, while they were still practicing, to stand around and wait to get on the floor. And we had that kind of mutual respect, and we worked together with practice times and that sort of thing. Because back then we didn't have the practice facility. We had to share the court and share the dungeon. That was really a place we wanted to stay out of as much as we could. So we had to work together to do those things, and I think our players sensed that. And, we got along well with the women's program.
Have a great call on Saturday. Whoa. Thank you for your time this morning, and we'll talk again soon. Next time we got to get you in studio, man. You got to come check the place out.
I want to see it, man. I've heard great things about it, and I can't wait to get there.
Yes, sir. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Jordy.
All right, man. There he is, John Brady, checking in this morning, talking a little LSU basketball as the Tigers are up and moving. They'll have a big one again on Saturday. Falaya Real Estate brings you our conversations and our show daily here. Remember our friend Barrett Blondo over at Falaya Real Estate. Get in touch with him about anything that you may have concerning selling your home. They are really taking the knowledge aspect and the bringing you the customer more opportunities to learn about Falaya Real Estate and learn about selling your home through podcasting methods and through what they got going online. Check it out for yourself at Falaya.com. That is Falaya.com, and you can download the app today. It's very easy inside your Google and Apple Android stores. You can get set up with Falaya and Falaya Real Estate. Falaya.com is where you find them online. We'll be back. We'll have Brody Miller coming up here in a couple of minutes. We'll talk LSU football with Miller and see what it's like in this offseason on how they're going to restructure and rebuild this roster. Obviously, Brian Kelly, as he said the other night on the broadcast, transfer portal going to be probably LSU football's best friend over the next couple of months. We'll ask Miller if any names are starting to jump out. Seen a lot of Notre Dame guys start to jump into the portal. We'll see what type of impact that could have in Baton Rouge coming up with one of our friends, Brody Miller here. Appreciate John Brady for stopping by here on this Thursday morning. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show coming up here on YouTube, Facebook, and JordyCulottaShow.com.
Why, it looks like it's trying to take over the world. Look at all these houses. Let's go to one.
I'm surprised you didn't go to yours.
I'm trying to find.
Are you gonna be sad whenever it gets sold?
I wonder if anybody. I'm trying to kind of get it out there that I want it. Just
someone wants to buy for it. Maybe someone will sponsor a house for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll start my own studio and I'll do
my
own.
Compete? Non-compete.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have questions about your finances? Are you looking for recommendations from a skilled financial advisor? Get in touch with our friend Daniel Newman over at Edward Jones. You can find him easily by logging online and shooting him an email at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. That is daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. Whether it is help with your 401k or just fiscal advice heading into the new season, get in touch with Daniel today. Best way to do it? Email him, daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. He's our experienced financial advisor. Let him be yours. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. True Blue Water. True hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Hebert's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Hebert's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, here live, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Some new tunes here, new jams on this new studio.
Had some people in the chat talking about coffee. Do y'all put anything in your coffee?
Ooh, see,
no
you're
coffee.
Talking to two no coffee guys.
Oh, y'all aren't coffee guys. See, I go black. I didn't know if some people like to doctor it up, a lot of sugar, a lot of cream, a lot of flavored creamers.
You're just making chocolate milk at that point, right? You're just making caffeine chocolate milk.
Yeah.
A couple of NFL notes. We're going to talk to Brody Miller coming up here at 8:15 this morning. As 8:15, we will talk to Miller from The Athletic, get his thoughts on LSU rebuilding this roster, where they go in this first offseason, how much do they use the transfer portal to get this roster back in line. Probably a lot here, and some of the names that may have popped out for Brian Kelly and the crew. We'll talk to Brody Miller coming up here in a couple of minutes. But some NFL notes for you. Joey Burrow going to sit this final regular season
Earned it.
week off. Yes, he needs it. He absolutely needs it.
When you can't take a knee, it's time to take get a little break. You know,
For sure.
He's earned it. Now I'm a little upset, not upset, but I'm worried that he's not going to be able to pad some of those stats. I want him to get that comeback player of the year, and I just hope that this doesn't affect, because if he goes out there and throws another four hundo with 4 tutties, I think that pretty much seals it. Not look, I know it doesn't matter. to him. Like, really doesn't. I mean, he probably wants it, but it matters more about him getting in the playoffs and winning and doing whatever. But I think that we should have to, like, it should not go unsaid that the Cincinnati Bengals do not have a indoor practice facility.
Yeah.
And
They walk across the street to practice.
across the street to practice, and
Like
Joey
right now.
B is he's navigating through all of these.
They're actively making it harder to win.
To me,
there.
that is just
Yeah.
asimine. To me, that you have that as a.
I got to
professional.
imagine that's gonna be
in
changing
Cincinnati,
pretty soon.
it's not like you're in San Diego,
It's a
bro.
football town.
It's in the winter it is miserable.
It's on the lake.
It's cold. It
Oh no, that's
sucks.
Cleveland. That's Cleveland. The mistake by the lake.
Bengals to update indoor practice
by the way.
facility.
Huh?
Bengals to update.
Oh no, they're doing it. You hear it all the time. I've heard people talk about it all the time, but I mean they don't have it now.
If Joey B wasn't hurt, do you think? I don't think he would sit. He's just playing at a rate right now where he probably
Absolutely.
wants the football. He wants to keep playing. This
No,
is,
I don't think
this
he
is
sits.
his time of year.
I don't think that he would be sitting if he wasn't hurt. But he needs to sit.
Yeah, but that's probably was still a hard conversation where he's like, let me get a couple first two drives. He's like, Zach Taylor's like, Joe, you're killing me, dude.
Who's their backup?
It is
Oh,
the kid from Arkansas.
Yes.
Oh, Allen.
Yes,
Yeah.
Allen.
Allen.
Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen. Or is it his brother?
I don't know.
There's two of
That's
them.
why I'm nervous.
There's
to
a lot of
say.
Allens in
I think it's Brandon though.
I don't know.
If I'm
Yeah,
betting,
that's always a good sign when you don't know who this
I'm
backup
going
is.
Brandon. What's the brother's name?
I don't know. Yeah, something Allen.
Brandon Allen,
Yeah.
and then you had I don't know.
Because they both played at Arkansas.
Yes.
Was it
Back to
Jordan?
back.
Was it Jordan?
Jordan Allen sounds like another football player.
Yes, it does. It does. It's the DB from
Austin Allen.
Austin.
He doesn't sound
I
nearly as
would
good.
never would have gotten that one.
No way.
I never would've
I'm
gotten
taking
that one.
Brandon all day.
Yeah. If you were playing the Thanksgiving game, give me Brandon.
All day.
Y'all can have Austin.
Sight unseen.
Yes.
I'm going Brandon.
Yeah, just the name.
We had Ryan Ramczyk is back
Yes.
for the New Orleans Saints, which is good news. Joey Burrow is out this weekend, which makes a lot of sense.
Saints will probably get flexed. Their game will probably get flexed. I don't know if there's a deadline until they have to do that, but
Should have asked Underhill.
but there. I mean, I know Sean Payton had come out earlier in the week and said that he would expect it to get flexed to probably the 3:00
Wow.
because they
It did.
You don't want-
425. You're right.
they did
Mhm.
they flexed it.
Yep.
Yeah, they just don't want they don't want you to look at the scoreboard and say, okay, well, now I guess for the Saints it doesn't matter, they have to win, but other teams, if the Saints would lose, they don't want to just.
They're playing at the same time as the 49ers.
That's what
So,
that makes sense.
Dude, we're about to make use of the old send-in in there.
Yeah.
Get a couple
I would
of games
assume-
up on Big Ball.
Right.
Watch both and see if we can
I would
play.
ass-
live stream it.
I would assume
Tonight?
No, Sunday
Sunday.
afternoon. 3:25.
I would assume that they have the 49ers would. I guess who are they playing? The Rams.
Rams.
So I guess that would be.
They're playing at the same time.
Yeah, they wouldn't be different networks, right? It wouldn't be CBS and Fox.
Although there's ways around that, don't you worry.
No, I know. Listen, I know. We got Lloyd Courtney in the room. We got a way to get it. I'm not worried about that. I just for the
Posterity's sake.
just in case, just trying not to do the frowned upon tactics.
If it was frowned upon, it wouldn't be so easy. They're just trying to help you out a little bit, I think.
Sure.
Did you mentioned coffee? Were you a
Bulletproof?
coffee milk guy when you were a kid?
Oh, dude.
Is that? I think that's how they
I've
get
had
kids
some.
hooked.
I've had some
Yep.
coffee milk. I had some coffee milk issues whenever I was I was young.
Kids addicted to it.
No, it wasn't the addicting part, right? Obviously, coffee is a diuretic,
Oh no.
so it flushes
Wow.
your system, right? I was in third and fourth grade, and my mom was always my mom was a beast. She'd wake up at 4. She'd go on a 6-mile run with her running club in the morning. She'd come back. She'd wake us up. We go to school. She'd go back and she'd teach body pump at Reds. She was a monster, right?
Wow.
And so she would always drink
Reds.
coffee in the
What a
morning.
place.
What a great
What a
place.
spot.
As a high school,
What
as a
a
high schooler, or
spot.
as a middle schooler, Reds is awesome.
Sheesh.
But
Reds is a hotel.
It's
yeah.
bigger than that.
it's a fantasy,
city block.
fantasy land for
It's
kids.
an entire city block.
It might
Yeah.
be like Louisiana's Disney World.
Yeah, it's
Closest thing to it.
Yeah.
it's a fantasy land for kids, and they have a water slide outside now.
It's amazing.
It's
It's
unbelievable.
amazing.
It's great.
It's amazing.
So she brings.
Put a college in
She would
there.
always have coffee, and so she'd make me coffee milk, and as a kid, you hated going to the bathroom at school, right? Like that was just something that I just didn't like to go. It's like the old, like I went to cathedral, it was an old Catholic school that like you just didn't want to go. But dude, every single day in second hour, I thought I was gonna crap on myself.
Yeah, right.
What a problem to have at such a young age.
And I'm like, what is going on? You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. And like I'm running. I'm like, what is happening? And finally, as I got older, I realized like, wow, that makes so much. I get it now. And not only was it coffee, it was milk in the coffee, so it was a double whammy.
Coffee gutted a fourth grader.
Start smoking cigarettes.
Wow, it was not good.
Walk over the teacher's shoulder. The kid smells like an accountant.
55-year-old.
It was not good. And then
You want my taxes?
Then I get older and I get to professional baseball and you're grinding. And then this was, I mean, the minor leagues. There was stretches in the minor leagues when I was coming up. Now since COVID this past year, every Monday was off, which is awesome. That was amazing. But coming up, you probably had maybe two off days a month, maybe, right? So like April, May, June, July, August, maybe 10 off days a year, right? And that's not counting the All-Star break, which is 3 days. We had a stretch where we had 47 games in 48 days.
Holy cow, bro.
So like,
is that even safe?
You're grinding. Like I'm chugging coffee. Like you wake up, you drink coffee.
Get the greenies, baby.
We don't know greenies illegal, coach.
Yeah.
Can't do it. This is before I was prescribed the.
Is there an underground greenie?
There's a coffee pot. I've heard.
Well, that was old. That was old school.
Old school.
Off coffee pot, you had different color lids.
Yes.
Like, the decaf and the not decaf. Well, it wasn't decaf. It was you had regular coffee and then you had the greenie coffee, which greenies was basically like Adderall back in the day. Speed.
Sure.
Yeah. So they'd put the greenies in there and it would just sit and whatever. But that's illegal. You can't do that anymore. There's people obviously chug energy drinks, a lot of coffee, P4 with the pre-workouts. There's a little bit of a concoction you can create with the over-the-counter medicine that they have that gives you like a little bit of a feel of the upper like the Adderall. I don't know if it's very good for you. It has a little bit of
none of it's good for you.
Excedrin
I don't know what's
and
gonna happen to me,
Sudafed like combination.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was
A little.
gives you a little bit of what Joel. I tried it for a little bit and I thought my liver was probably gonna come out of my body, so I stopped it. But there's nothing's off limits that's legal. Like, if it's legal and someone says it may work, you're gonna try it.
I'm in.
If you're in July and you're on game 28 in a row,
Give me the greenie
whatever,
coffee.
give me something.
Yes.
Give me something.
I don't know what this
Hey,
is,
my
but I'll
arm,
take it.
my arm kind of hurts. I think I need a cortisone shot just to give me a boost.
You
You
just
know
wanna
what I mean?
feel
Like,
something.
my arm doesn't really hurt, but I need something to give me up. You know?
Just taking Advil to this might do something. But you talked about the greenie coffee. Paul LaDuca tells a story for when he played for the Dodgers, and they had exactly what Montuk had. They had the decaf coffee that everybody in the clubhouse knew was actually the greenie coffee. That's like the extra coffee. A security guard comes in, pours an entire mug of what he thought was decaf, and probably 20 minutes later, they're all looking at him, and Paul LaDuca goes, "Oh, he's a goner." Like, they thought he was going to die, but they couldn't tell anybody because they didn't want to get busted for having the greenie coffee. So they had to escort him out, get an ambulance in, and load him out without anybody knowing. Paul LaDuca told the story after he retired. He's like, "We thought we were all cooked."
Back in the day, that's why so many people would. That's why baseball players are borderline alcoholics.
Yes.
Because they would finish the game, you would drink this coffee with the greenies in it, so you're up and you're like
jacked.
locked in, and after the game,
1:50 in
you got to
the
go to
morning.
sleep. So they're just throwing back some beers and drinks. It's like, what do we got going on here? And they're just
like a
trying anything they
party.
can do to bring themselves back down.
What a roller coaster.
It
roller
is.
coaster.
And then
What
wake
a
up and do it all
roller
over again.
Yeah.
Daily, we're brought to you by Mulhan Law Firm. Remember, Mulhan Law Firm is your local, reliable legal team with 50 years of combined experience. Get in touch with them. 225-926-8533 is the number. Wide range of services. Their practice areas are all from personal injury, business organizations, wills and trusts, succession and probate, family law, entertainment law. Online at mulhanlawfirmla.com. mulhanlawfirmla.com. 50 years of combined experience. 225-926-8533. 225-926-8533. Mulhan Law Firm, LA, LA.com is where you get to them online. They are client-oriented. They offer, as we said, a very wide range of service. Your local, reliable, legal team over at Maughan Law Firm. MAUGHAN lawfirm.com. Maughan Law Firm. Proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll talk to Brody Miller coming up here in a couple of minutes. We'll get Miller just published a great write-up over at The Athletic looking at Brian Kelly's first offseason and kind of gave a to-do list, one of the tasks list that Kelly's going to have to run down. We'll go over it with Brody Miller coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet when we come back. YouTube, Facebook, and JordyCulottaShow.com.
Have you ever played the odds game?
No.
So like
We're still on.
it's fun.
Yeah.
If you've ever played the odds game, it's like odds you would ever streak around campus, and you would say
Oh, like never have I ever?
sort of, but it's
Sort
like
of?
odds. Like what are the odds? And you say 1 in 100. You know, and you say all right, 1, 2, 3, and you both say a number. If y'all both say the same number, you have to do it, right? And so we had a buddy that I played with when I was in Detroit. Pitcher, awesome dude, lefty. We're still on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure. I don't want to.
You don't burn the story.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And he hated the mornings. He hated.
What's up?
Hated mornings, right? Like he was. We play in Detroit. You play a lot of early on in the season. You play a lot of day games.
Yeah.
We play the second most day games behind
Because of the weather.
Chicago because of the weather. They try to make it day game so it's not as cold. Didn't really help much, but whatever.
Here we are.
So he's in the morning. We're in the breakfast room. We're eating. Like everybody's trying to wake up. We had like a later game the night before, and he is a prescribed Adderall guy, right? So like he is the TUE. He can take it, and he pitched the night before, so he like didn't get barely any sleep. You know, he pitched.
The
So he probably
adrenaline.
went to bed at 2. He had to wake up. Be at the field by 8 or 9. And so we're sitting in there and we're eating breakfast, and he has a bowl of cereal, and he's miserable. He's a miserable human being in the morning. And a guy on our team in Detroit, and he goes, someone says, "Hey, Willie, odds you pour that bowl of cereal over your head." And he looked at him. He's like, 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 500, whatever he said. And he's like, all right, 1, 2, 3. Said the same number. This guy looked at him. He goes.
So they were in on it.
He just poured.
had
Yeah,
to do it.
if you lost, you did it. And he just poured the bowl over his head, and like he was so mad. And he's like, "But I can't back down now." And he just
This
he went,
day
and
already.
we laughed our asses off.
Perfect for him.
It was so funny. It
That's
was like,
so good.
I was like, this is the best way to start the morning. Like everybody's
Yeah.
tired. We don't want to really be here right now because it's early. We have 6 hours of sleep, and that happens. I was like, that is.
So, like, when you say odds, you have to say, like, they both said, like, 1 in 500? Or, like, it's an actual number? Like,
No, it's a number. So like if you say if you said odd, you say 1 in 500. You say all right, 1, 2. You count to 3, and at 3, you both say a number. So like 325.
oh, it could be any number, not 1 through 100. Wow.
Yeah. So between
So
1
it
and
rarely
500,
happen- oh my
it rarely
God.
happens. So if you don't really want to do it, you say 1 in 1,000.
Yeah.
You know. But some people are like feel saucy, like 1 in 100. We're never gonna get it. And you say 52. I said it.
Dump
You
the
got to
milk,
do it.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That's unbelievable. Willie.
Let's get to Brody Miller, who is got a great write-up over at The Athletic. As if you are looking for the latest on LSU's offseason, it is titled LSU's Football Offseason To-Do List, what Brian Kelly and his staff must focus on before the 2022 season opener, as LSU has now had the 2021 season behind them with the Texas Bowl the other night coming and going, and LSU getting blown out 42-20 against Kansas State. What now? As we bring in Brody Miller from The Athletic. You can follow Brody on Twitter at Brody A. Miller and catch all of his work over at The Athletic. Happy New Year, man. Good morning. How are you?
Happy New Year to you, man. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing good. We said after the Tuesday night game on Wednesday morning yesterday, we were talking that it really now officially feels like this is Brian Kelly's program. I know that he was named the head coach a couple of weeks back and has been on the job for a couple of weeks, and he's had that head coaching office. But it really feels like now he's in firm control of this program, and it's really everything that's coming in and going out is going to be his decision. I know that you got a write-up over at The Athletic. What would you see being the first job that Kelly has to dive into here to begin this overhaul?
Well, and it's not as much in there, to be honest, but unfortunately, I think the first thing we're kind of seeing yesterday in the last few days and weeks, and it's a little bit of cleaning house. I mean, we expected a lot of on-field staff changes. That's just normal when you have a new head coach. But from what I've gathered, Kelly spent the last few weeks kind of evaluating the building, support staff, operations people, all that kind of stuff, and kind of evaluating. And what ended up happening yesterday was somewhat a cleaning of house. It really was. People who have been there a long time, operations people, sports staffers, analysts, so many just are not coming back now. So, and overwhelming amount. So, from what I gather, he kind of looked around and said that he doesn't really think he wasn't overly impressed, which is unfortunate. But he is going to be rebuilding that completely in his own. And in some ways, some would argue that's what LSU needs, and in others, it's a tricky subject. But I think you start there, and that's obviously going to be big the next few weeks, is building that, but that's not exactly the sexy part of building a program. The other thing is certainly the transfer portal. He's something he talked about at ESPN, and that is going to be, especially this year where you were allowed to take 7, to match the guys that are gone. That is 7 over the limit. So you can get as many as 32 players. It's going to be a massive, and it seems like Brian Polian has kind of been tasked as the transfer portal guy there to kind of, he's been the one offering a lot of people, and you're seeing them go for receivers, D linemen, linebackers. Obviously, offensive line is the number one target. I wouldn't be surprised if they get 2 or 3, but I think that's priority number one. They need to kind of look to what Michigan State did a little bit last year, right, where they patched the program really, really, really well with the portal, kind of got a little bit of a stopgap. But the recruiting, high school recruiting is going to be the future, but in the short term, portal is going to be huge.
What did you learn about Brad Davis and covering him in the interim?
I think you learn he's a guy who takes an immense amount of pride in this job. We all made a big thing of him being a Baton Rouge guy who wanted to come home when he took this job, and I think that rang even truer these last few weeks and months. And I think he's a very principled man. I think you could see the way he handled things, the way he was like, hey, we're going to fight anyway, the way he was unbelievably apologetic about the loss. I think he's a guy who has a lot of principles, and that's something I gathered throughout, even the season as just the offensive line coach. He's a guy who is like, hey guys, this is my town. You can't, we can't take a step. We can't be a step behind. We need to be on top of this. And I think he's a tough guy who's going to be hard on them. So I am high on him as an offensive line coach. I do think he's somebody who was clearly on the way to come up anyway, and he's now pretty much the only guy it appears that Brian Kelly might be keeping on.
Do you think that there's a fair timeline when you see the numbers that LSU competes in a bowl game at the end of the 2021 season to put on having the roster restored? Because, it's as college football is concerned, it's dire, right? It's almost in shambles. Or is it?
You mean in terms of Brian Kelly kind of building it back up this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you can really get it back to normal this year, right? I think it's going to be a multi-year process. Even right now, you look at, they only have 13 signings right now, and yeah, there's probably Matthews and Citizen are 2 huge ones they're hoping to get, and things like that. But even that puts you at 15. So it's like, right. I don't even know if they're filling all 5 spots this year, things like that. So I think it has to be, and you can't overdo it with the portal, because then you're unbalancing your roster. Then you're putting yourself in even more of a short-term fix. You do have to find that balance. So I would assume they're going to kind of leave some spots open a little bit, patch some holes, but also make sure you're not mortgaging your future too much. So I think it's a multi-year process. As you know, that roster management situation is dire, but it's tricky, right? Because there's so many shiny pieces at the top. There's so many super talented guys, but it's just not a complete roster. It's not a roster where, one senior leaves and the next right guard's ready to go. That's just the part that's missing.
You mentioned Polian and where he may be tasked with kind of overseeing the portal and going after those commitments and recruits. It feels next to Frank Wilson that he comes in with the highest reputation of a recruiter. What have you learned, or if anything, about Polian up to this point, who is now LSU special teams coordinator?
Yeah, I think Polian is somebody with a long track record of being a good recruiter, even as a head coach at Nevada, right? And it is worth just noting that when Marcus Freeman was hired at Notre Dame, he kind of did take over the recruiting aspect, at Notre Dame last fall, and they ended up having this elite class. Polian is the guy who Kelly has trusted, obviously, for a long time, and definitely is not afraid to hand him the keys to some things, and he does have a good track record as a recruiter over a long period of time. So I do think that it was notable. I think that the two first on-field hires they made were Polian and Wilson, which I kind of view as his two capos, his guys that are kind of his co-head coaches a little bit that can help him oversee. And the scheme hires didn't come later, but those are the guys who manage the team, right? The guys who are going to help recruit and all that stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and say Polian's, necessarily going to come in and be Frank Wilson, but I do think he has a trusted role in that department.
His underbosses. We get it.
yes, that's it. That's better.
Jamar Cain, this seems like a big get for LSU as a defensive line coach. It was very much celebrated, at least on social media, but the story of keeping him away from USC and now getting him to Baton Rouge was a pretty good get for Kelly, right?
Absolutely. I mean, he's somebody who was highly sought after. Obviously, it's no secret he was headed to USC. And credit where it's due. I mean, it's 2 years at Oklahoma. We all remember what that defense was for so long, and I think that defense really doesn't get enough credit for kind of what it's been the last few years and how it's improved, at least under Grinch. It's gone under Alex Grinch. It's become a feisty unit, and a large part of that is what Jamar Cain has done with that pass rush. It's not necessarily one that's going to rank in the top of comparing with Alabama, but it's one that causes havoc. It makes life difficult for you. So he's really good there, and he's a good recruiter. So I think Jamar Cain is a heck of a steal there, and I think it proves kind of what an indication for a while that LSU's they're gonna outbid some people for assistants because they know they kind of needed to. As soon as they didn't get Tommy Reese and Marcus Freeman, it was kind of like, all right, we're gonna spend some money and get who we got to get. And Jamar Cain's obviously one of the better up and coming gets. So having him and Brad Davis on your O line and a D line, I feel like you have two guys who are really going to grow into being top tier assistants.
Where's your head? What do you see in that quarterback room over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I always admit when it's not necessarily going off deep information, but just gut feel. It seems like Miles Brennan didn't come back to not be the starter. I don't think it's handed to him, of course, but I think it is a competition. Kelly said as much Tuesday. I mean, Nussmeier's a guy who could totally take a huge leap in year two. I mean, he's a massive talent. And I always got the sense Walker Howard was okay with redshirting this year, that, he's somebody who's thinking big picture and he's not going like, oh my God, I'm not starting, I'm going to transfer. So I think Brennan was brought in to kind of be this perfect bridge for Brian Kelly. No one's expecting them to win the SEC this year. They're expecting them to keep things stable, maybe get back to that 9-win range, 10-win range if you're great, And I think Miles Brennan is that perfect bridge. He's a good leader. People do respect him. And if he can stay healthy, he's got to average 370 passing yards a game, in SEC ball. So I envision Brennan kind of being that stopgap, and then in 2023 you have that kind of ideal battle LSU fans are waiting for a long time with Nussmeier and Howard. I think that's the ideal situation. Things don't always work in ideals, so I wouldn't be, I think it does kind of work both ways, though, where if, God forbid, Brennan does have more injury problems, it's not like Nussmeier or even Howard aren't good enough to play in the SEC. So I do think Brennan coming back just fixes so much, just in terms of not making you panic, not making you waste a spot in the transfer portal, and also for him getting a chance to finally kind of show what he can do.
How big, how massive does that first Wednesday in February have to be for LSU?
Pretty big, just because obviously, December did not go to plan, and I'm not going to sit here and blame him for that. I actually don't think you can really blame him for much of that. That's not really on him. They were behind on a lot of these guys well before that hire, but I do think December was a frustrating week for them, and now all of a sudden, you have a bunch of spots to fill, and you have two huge Louisiana prospects in Jacoby Matthews and Javonte Sis, and that, if you don't get that, that's all of a sudden is a bad book, It was a huge success for them, getting them to hold off, getting them to wait till February. That bought them more time, and maybe they can make up and get them, and then after that, they're going to have to, fill a lot more spots. And I'll be honest, I haven't talked to how many they actually plan on filling and some of the other main targets. But, I think he needs to kind of win some good graces over, and also just on the field. They need to get some more talent in that room for sure.
Great to catch up with you, man. Great start to a new year. Happy New Year to you. Make sure you follow Brody on Twitter at Brody A. Miller. And the latest read over at The Athletic, which I believe was published about 2 hours ago, is a really good look at the tasks of LSU's offseason under Brian Kelly now that he's in control. Thank you, man. We'll be touching base soon.
Thanks as always. Take care, guys.
All right, see you. There's Brody Miller checking in this morning. That conversation brought to you, as always, by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Get in touch with Cajun Ready Mix Concrete online at CajunRMC.com is where you can find them at Cajun Ready Mix. Our friends over there, if you need any type of concrete project done, whether that is municipal, residential, commercial, or industrial, Cajun Ready Mix ready for you. 9 plants around the greater Baton Rouge area. They got high-quality products, grade A equipment, clear safety standards, and red carpet services. They strive to be the premier quality and provider of quality concrete to you. Online, CajunRMC.com. That is CajunRMC.com. Good stuff from Brody Miller as we were talking to him a little bit about this LSU roster.
Sorry, I ruined that a little bit.
It's all good, buddy.
Mikey killed the kids.
Just
all good,
little,
buddy.
these kids are very, very nice. I just accidentally knocked them down.
Nieces right there.
That's your nieces?
Yeah.
Nice.
Now they're by your nieces.
I dropped the ball.
That's all right.
Yeah, fumbled it.
Durable.
There. Yeah, durable. At least you know.
Yeah.
Hey, get those kids outside, dude. You know, bang them up a little bit. Too many kids stay inside these days.
Amen. Amen.
You don't have that problem.
No, I do not.
Good for you.
I would not. That would not
That
go
would not
well.
fly.
That would not go well with me. Kids inside on a day like today, it pisses me off.
He's the Sandlot mom. He's like, go play.
I mean,
go.
I'll lock the door. I'll
Yeah.
lock the door.
That's all I am.
He's a dog.
I've got to take a leak. See that tree?
Go.
Yeah, mark it.
Water. There's a hose.
Yeah, right. I'll send some out.
Put it by the door. It's good for him.
There used to be an empty, or my uncle's house. We used to all go there on Sundays, and so we used to have. There's an empty lot across from it, and we used to always just
Rock fight.
pick up football games, whatever, right? And then obviously somebody owned that part, and so we go there, and this is like in the summers, and we go to school, then we come back. The next time we go back to try to see it, fenced off.
Oh.
They gated. I'm like, what are we doing?
Bro.
We're not even doing anything.
Give me
We
a
can't break
break.
windows. We can't do we are playing.
Give me a
Is it
Games like
break.
grass?
It was grass,
Oh.
and so they do it, and then
Some people do.
Some people.
yeah, and
want to
then
watch
we
the world burn.
but we had some when if it was raining outside, we'd go play football. That's when it was the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just tackle football in the rain.
Yeah, that's probably the best stage whenever it rains and it makes you want to go outside. It's like, oh, this is gonna be perfect mud football. That was probably the best time. Whenever that stops happening, you're probably getting a little old. Did y'all have trouble? This happened at my school in elementary school. They started to divvy up the teams because we would stack our rosters. Like our group of friends was like,
Like at recess?
Yeah.
The school would intervene and start setting the teams?
yeah,
No chance.
because we had like our little group was
No chance.
we had our 5. And then they were like, these 5 can't be on the same team together. We're like,
Wow.
what the hell?
Good Lord.
Because if you
Wait, who is it? Why did they do this?
the games became unfair apparently.
Like
And
pickup
parents-
games?
Yeah, at recess at elementary school, and like the
Wow,
other kids would
Lloyd,
complain, and we'd be like,
jeez.
"We'll
Where
put
were you,
20 on
Auschwitz?
5." Yeah, exactly.
You knew you had a good recess when you got back to class and you were sweating and your
The best.
your shirt was ripped or something.
The
It was
best.
like,
Buttons
The
are
best.
off.
you come home and my mom would be like,
Yeah.
The
okay.
dirtiest
Just
pants of all
grass
time.
stains.
Yeah.
Yeah, good day. Good day.
What did you learn today?
They've totally
I scored
ruined
4
that.
touchdowns.
They've totally ruined that at school.
Did they? I mean, I don't know. I
They've
haven't-
totally cut all of that out. I mean, the COVID protocols have totally vaporized recess. I mean, it's
Close contact, I guess.
everything. I mean, there's no
no.
football games became too physical. Basketball games are too close contact. There's just, I mean, they
Put 'em
have
in
to
a
eat
bubble.
their lunch outside. I mean, it is crazy the psychological
Oh, dude, the best
options
best
we're
trash
giving
talk.
these kids and like not giving them the experience of what we had. You know what I mean? Where you just like you figure it out. You were never sick. You get, you know what I mean? You get over stuff. You just kind of wipe some dirt on it and
Yeah,
go
people
to the
break
next
arms
one.
at recess
Yeah,
and go to
right,
class.
man. I mean,
The best
Now there's none of
trash
that.
talk you would have was at recess when you were younger.
Absolutely.
Like you would wait. You couldn't wait to get to recess so that you could have the rematch or whatever. And now there's sometimes it got a little heated. And
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had some.
Absolutely.
I had a some
I mean, I'm still
some
dealing with this
suspension
front
one
tooth
time,
from a
but-
recess.
No way.
Yeah, I threw a punch. Yeah, I got punched in the face.
Basketball or
It was
what?
basketball. I went up for a layup,
Sure.
and the guy,
Shut.
he said he was trying to block the shot, and come on, dude. You didn't miss a shot, hit me in the face, and I punched him. And then I got
How
a
old were you?
suspension. I was like, it's probably 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah. That's
And my
punch time.
mom was playing in a tennis league in Lafayette, and their team was going to, I say team, it was a team, I don't know why I quotation between the team. The team went to Destin to play in like the whatever tournament. So the uncles had me. And so it was if there was a time to do that and get in trouble,
wow.
that was the time. So my Uncle Robbie comes and picks me up, brings me to his office, his law firm, and I'm sitting there, and he's like, all right. And so, he was very
Understanding.
the talk that he gave me was a little bit different than the talk my mom gave me. My mom had to get mad at him, and he's like, hey, Marianne.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah, this is it. We're gonna handle this one. You be all
That's
right.
great. I mean, that was
Yeah,
Strong.
you were
He
set
told me-
up, bro.
he
You
told
were
me-
set up like that.
He told me, he was like, hey, listen, did you start that? I was like, no, this is what happened. He's like, all right, that's all I need to know.
Yeah. Start
As
for
long as you don't
myself.
start it, you're fine, because you gotta take up for yourself.
But so it got back to mom through the family or through the school?
Well, they had to call my mom.
Oh,
So my mom,
yeah,
because
the
like
contact.
so she had to call my mom. My mom had to call my Uncle Robbie and Ronnie and say, hey, one of y'all has to go get him.
Go get Mikey. He's
And so then
punching
I
people
go
in
there, and I'm
school.
like, sitting
I'm in
here.
between sets.
I'm sitting here, and I get in the car, and I'm expecting, because when I was younger, my uncle Robbie, he's my godfather. He was like the disciplinary, like he was a little bit. And I was like, oh no, here we go. I got in the car, and he's like, what do you want to eat? What do you want for lunch?
LaFondas.
And I was like thinking, I was like, we got lunch, and I was young, I was like, well, Burger King or something, like
Yeah.
whatever. So we go,
It's a
and
great day.
he hasn't said anything, and he's like talking, and we get in his office, and he wasn't mad at me. He told me he went through the whole thing, because I grew up listening to my uncles talk about, like, my dad passed when I was young, but like the stories of my dad and my uncles were like, this is what we like. If something happened, if someone threatens you or your family or your sisters or whatever, if something happens, you take up for them, and that's what I grew up. Yeah, that's what I grew up.
Lesson learned, boys.
Nope. But
That was it.
Guy came down on a block shot, hit me in the nose. I knocked him out. What do you want me to do?
Flagrant foul.
And I wasn't a fighter. It was just like,
Yeah.
it just happened, whatever.
My front tooth is still being repaired to this day from a fifth grade recess.
There you go.
I
Is
mean,
that when it started?
that's really what happened. I mean, that's where it originated from, was like in 4th or 5th grade at St. Jude on the corner of Highland and Gardere, playing recess, went up for a layup, and whoever was in front of me like went down, and when I came down, I flipped over them and like went straight, just tooth first into the curb.
Real teeth? Like grown-up teeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like brand new, you know what I mean? So it was,
Did you lose it? Did it fall out?
yeah,
Oh.
that's why it was that, it was a root canal that I was getting replaced by Dr. Spillers from, I mean,
Oh, that thing lasted. What
30
a
years,
tough
bro.
Cookie,
I mean,
dude.
that thing was in there for
Thought
a
it was
while,
good.
man.
Yeah, did it ran its race.
But who knew? I was a po' boy away.
Yeah.
It was a piece of French bread away.
I don't think they knew what they were doing. Like, I guess in my era, too, with, like, recess. They just said go, like,
I mean,
go
your
out
era,
there.
your era, I would consider my era.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Our era.
Yeah.
Our era.
Don't
yeah,
make me
you
feel
were,
old
No,
like
you
that,
were in
okay?
6th grade. I was, like, in 2nd grade,
I'm 3 years older than you.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah.
23.
But, like, they just let us go out there. And it was like, well, if you're going to let us go, we're just going to go play tackle football.
No, they pushed you out.
Yeah.
there.
Well,
Get out of there.
But could you imagine being a teacher? Be like, they're probably looking forward to recess more than we are. Like, get these fucking
Yeah,
kids out of
absolutely.
here.
It reminds me of Billy
10 more
Madison.
minutes.
Miss Lippy's class and Billy Madison. That was Miss Lippy's time in the class. That's the teacher's time. Like, hey, Billy, you need to go outside to recess right now.
He's eating
Get out of
glue.
here. Get out of here.
Slippy's car is green.
Oh, man.
Get out of
I
here.
drew a blue duck.
Yeah.
I've never seen a blue duck.
Congratulations, Billy. You're on to the next grade.
Mike Joubert, our kids need experience like chipped teeth and face
Yes.
punches. They do. They
Yeah,
absolutely
you learn
do.
a lot about it.
Telling you, if you saw the recess at my kid's school, it would appall. I mean,
I'm so far
it's
removed, I
Still,
don't even
it's
know.
still. I mean, like it hurts my soul how they have just taken the experiences away from kids. I mean, and I'm not here to start anything or say anything, but the fact that kids are eating lunch outside
That's good.
on cement in cold weather and hot weather. They're not allowed to play at recess and in close contact and all of this stuff. It's so just disheartening to see to your children, man, when they don't even know that they're missing the experience.
Right.
But mine does, because he was at school in a pre-COVID era. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where, like in second, third, fourth grade, they were still able to go out there. Yeah, man. I mean, they were talking about doing the stuff that we were just referencing. We were talking about. I mean, some of your greatest battles, some of your growing up, some of your learning how to compete, all happens on a recess playground, right? I mean, like, think back on your childhood. I mean, usually the backdrop is your schoolyard, and now, just the inability for these kids to even get that type of chance is what sucks.
I'll walk Kobe, my dog, in our neighborhood.
You like walking by the school kids?
These kids,
Perfect.
Hey, watch yourself.
Can't be within 300
Watch
feet of that
yourself.
place.
No, but I like watching. Like you go, and these kids are playing pickup basketball, and they're just going like, no, it's a bigger neighborhood where there's a bunch of kids around the same age, and they're all, now with travel ball, and they're all playing kind of, but you see them go to different houses, and they're playing in their front yard pickup basketball, and you can hear them yelling at each other and like talking shit to each other. And I'm like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be like. And that's kind of what you saw a little bit during COVID, when everybody was stuck, like at home, right? Not when they went back to school, like when they're at home, and the kids were like, I can't play video games all day, every day. Like it's boring, and they go out there and they play, like they ride their bikes, and they're, pick up wiffle ball games. I'm like, this is awesome.
Because you can't burn yourself out. Like, as much as they want to be attached to the screen, or even, like, I'm addicted to that telephone that I have. Like, I look at the iPhone all day. But I'd imagine if you were told you had to stay inside, you'd be like, all right, I don't even want to play Madden anymore. Like, I want to go out. You could burn yourself out, and that's probably the best case scenario for them, is like overstimulate yourself with the computer or whatever, and then you're gonna be like, all right, actually, I want to go do this myself. Let's go outside. Let's go play. Get the boys together, round the troops.
It is. You can still create it. Like, we still create it at the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's usually during the summer or during days off, I mean, he's got a pack of kids in the driveway, and they're playing outside, and it sounds like youth. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like your childhood. Just, I mean, constant screaming, yelling, dunking. Yeah, right. I mean, just all of that stuff. Which, I mean, you can't get enough of that as a kid.
No.
I mean, you can't get enough of that.
When 2 a.m. basketball, your friends come sleep over.
That's
2
the
a.m.
best.
basketball games in the front yard. Like, you go and you don't even shower after. You just fall asleep on the ground. Like,
Sleep
this
outside.
is what it is. Yeah, like this what, like your mom. My mom wakes up and like, all right, guys, like y'all can keep playing, but stop throwing the ball against the roof, or stop. I'm sleeping.
Stop throwing it.
I don't care.
Off the roof to
Right.
Yeah, so the alley-oop or the alley-oop dunk.
The neighbor's light comes on.
Yeah.
Scram.
Yeah.
Then the basketball game would turn into neighborhood tag.
Right.
Or like, hide and seek, and you're
Infinite
like,
game.
and you are, and it was awesome. I mean, that's just
Samuel Murphy, Jordy, I chipped my front tooth as well. Came to Louisiana on a visit a couple of years back. My first bite into a po' boy, I re-chipped it. Never been so disappointed in my life. Dr. Spillers was telling me I was a po' boy away. He told me, he said, you bite into a good po' boy piece of bread, bro, and that thing is coming out with it. Mr. Walking Man, Jordy, I had 2 root canals at 11 from busting my face going for a header in soccer. Think I'll be needing some Johnson Spillers in about 15 years.
Speaking of soccer, do they have? Well, there's a lot of CTE going on in football, but like you gotta imagine that you get some concussions from. I'm not. I was never. A
I always thought the gymnastics was the worst.
For concussions?
Yeah,
probably
for concussions.
Really? For what?
Yeah, falling on your head.
They don't land them every time, dude.
I mean, I guess you're right. I was when I was 4, I was on the balancing beam with playing t-ball. I was on the balancing beam with my cleats. I slipped and boom, hit my chin, and my front tooth popped out, like my baby tooth.
Oof.
I wasn't, obviously the adult teeth weren't ready to come in.
So you're gapping.
Dude, I was gapping for a while, and then they grew back buck teeth, and it was not good. I had braces in 4th grade.
Really?
Oh, you got lucky.
Yeah, I was supposed to have them again, but my teeth never went back. They stayed good, so I never had braces again.
Did you retainer?
I had retainer until I lost 4 of them. My mom said, you're done.
Yeah.
I don't care if your teeth get crooked.
not.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
I would blame it on the dog.
I had headgear.
No.
Yeah. Because of a huge overbite.
What do you mean headgear? Like the?
Well, I had some headgear. I had some headgear for at night. For
I mean,
a
like
little
there's
bit.
on your braces, there were two kind of like slots in the back that
Jordy
you
had to go to
put
school with the headgear.
No wonder, dude, how did you survive?
Jordy has his full teeth, his braces, he's ready with the headgear. I'm like, hey, Jordy, you have something to say? No, I don't want anything to say. He's wearing his hood
just
over
head
his head.
down.
Just catch me at
Poor guy.
recess.
And then I had the rubber bands.
I had the
I had
bands.
the bands.
I had the
And the bands would pop in the middle of the night all the time, which would suck. And then I had the pallet with the key.
Ugh, that was the worst.
Pallet expander.
Where you, I mean, you were
had
pretty
to-
much like breaking your jaw, right?
Yeah, well, it's like I was up top and like the food would get stuck and you had to like, it was miserable.
Oh,
Miserable.
I do not miss those days.
Mouth pain is the worst. I'm telling you, mouth pain is the absolute worst.
And when you like the idea of braces is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know what you're in for. It's worth it in the long run, probably, but you don't know what you're in for. You're almost excited to get braces because when you're a kid, you're like, oh, that's like an adult thing. That seems good. Then when they're in there and going, I hate teeth stuff. So whenever you're like in the chair and they're working on like, what are y'all doing in there? Like, get out. Ugh.
Ugh, the sounds, bro.
Dude, that's why I was a big retainer kid. Like, I would pop that thing in.
Jeff Marsan, FYI, soccer has the most concussions by any sport.
okay.
Yeah, you're right. Jeff Bone, the pussification of the youth is sickening.
I knew you were going to read that one.
Go Pokes. Youth soccer is statistically the worst for concussions. I thought you stopped watching Go Pokes. Christopher Fleming.
We're addicting.
There have been former Premier League players diagnosed with CTE. Travis LeBlanc grew up in the boonies with 8 to 10 kids my age. Best memories were in a vacant lot playing baseball, pretending to be Todd Walker.
Love that. Todd Walker's a great guy.
Yeah, Todd Walker was probably one of the most imitated players ever growing up when we were kids.
I feel bad for like the people. It's
Just
so.
you, dude?
They're
Is that what you had?
Yeah.
only at night though, right? For
Yeah,
you?
only at night.
Okay. You're not going to school with that.
No way, dude. You crazy?
I was only at night.
You are.
Crazy?
I was only at night too.
Just
Yeah,
starting quarterback. How the hell are you going to wear a piece of headgear?
That was a hard thing to recover from.
That is. Just good to see you back, Go Pokes. All good.
Wait, so
And I don't know what table you're talking about. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
DM me.
Is it this
I
table?
don't know what he's talking about.
Slide in those DMs. Slide in there.
Something is bugging the hell out of me.
I think he's got the OCD.
Nick Richard, his have masks again at school. It's crazy. It's wild what's going on with the kids, man. They're missing out on all the experiences.
Did you wear the headset to like your friend's house? Like
No.
So it was just at home.
But I did have my inner circle of buddies that I mean, like I could care less if they're
right.
You know what I mean? But I definitely wasn't packing it to the slumber party.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because that's a tough look. If we were at same grade, and you had that kid's probably not invited to the party very
No
often.
way.
That's a tough look.
No way.
Because some people have the moms like, you're wearing it to school. We're getting this leg, and you're just
Not
like,
my
come
mom.
on, yeah, dude. No, little Jay's not happening.
That ain't happening.
He's going to spring break.
For sure.
Speaking of, and this is kind of like sort of on topic, but like speaking of like there's just built-in excuses for things, like that's kind of like brings into like the whole like softer generation. This Antonio Brown stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we watched that whole debacle happen on the field, which was very, very entertaining, but kind of disturbing. Everybody's like, mental illness, this and this. Well, he comes out yesterday, and his lawyer comes out with this statement and basically says that Antonio Brown has ligament issues and broken bone chips in his ankle, right?
Right.
And that's why he said he wasn't going to play, okay? Which, listen, if I went and got my x-ray done, now maybe not broken bone chips, but if I went and got an x-ray on my ankle done, I'd have ligament issues too. Like, I've rolled my ankle plenty of times. It didn't look like he had ligament issues when he was doing the up and downs. But my point is, that doesn't excuse the antics that you did after. Like, you threw a temper tantrum.
Right.
You literally made it seem like, oh, I didn't get my way, so I'm going to go and I'm going to make this huge scene in the middle of Walmart like a 2-year-old kid stomping on the ground because I didn't get a toy. Like, what is that?
That's Antonio Brown. To a T.
And the players' union is going to make this. They're going to make this interesting.
They have to.
I know they have to.
They have to.
Because if you're paying attention, he's still not cut.
No.
Like, he's on Tampa Bay's roster right now. He's still a part of Tampa Bay's team. And I think what Tampa is trying to keep themselves closed to is the opportunity of a lawsuit to come in here because of and I'm not making a suggestion and I'm not saying that this is what I see, but the possibility of this has to be spoken about, of some type of CTE
Right.
like carryover here.
Right,
You know
but
what I
he-
mean?
but
Like those antics, that
But here's
that
the thing.
behavior,
It's
I think
bizarre.
that you can, if it came out that was some type of CTE action, I don't think that a lot of people would be surprised, right?
No, but these antics and this behavior isn't new.
Right.
It's been going on for a while. Like it's when he was in Pittsburgh, and that credit to the Pittsburgh organization and credit to Mike Tomlin for being able to keep this under wraps and be able to keep it under control for as long as he did, because this hasn't like happened. You saw it kind of deteriorate at the end of his time in Pittsburgh, and he ended up leaving, and then he's been an issue ever since, right? So to me, this isn't new behavior. It's just kind of being. It's just
Exacerbated.
it's continued to grow, and it's being almost like the fuel is being fed because he keeps getting jobs, right? And it's just at some point, like I understand, like maybe they did wrong you, maybe you were right, maybe you were hurt and you couldn't have played. That doesn't excuse you for being. You could have taken your pads off and walked, and that would have been. People could have gotten okay. This is something happened, and yeah, but. Doing jumping jacks and waving to the crowd and having no shirt on, like
Throwing shit into the
that's
crowd.
just not
Kosher.
that's not good. That's not something that's not what an adult professional athlete should do. Like he's not a 21-year-old, he's 32 years old. I don't even know how old he is.
But if he does it the other way, keeps his pads on, keeps his helmet on, waits until the end of the game, he's still on the team and he probably plays.
Not only that, he's probably got public sentiment shifting in his favor if the story comes out that Arians looks at him twice and says, get in there, and he says, no, I'm hurt, because I agree with Dravon Rhodes, who says, I'm not excusing his antics, but if a guy says he's hurt, he's hurt. Right? And when you look at an NFL field and what's going on out there, and if a guy says, hey, man, I'm not right to go out there, I'm not physically fit to make this happen, well, I think that, in that position, you've really got to respect that.
Right.
In that instance, whether you believe he's full of shit or not, in that moment, you've got to take that man for his word who's saying, I'm not ready to go out on that football field, because if I do, I'm not physically ready to go and compete to the, next to the guy next to me, and I could get hurt.
You have to take him at his word on that.
And I don't think that there is any debate on that. Like in real time, if he says,
hey, bro, I can't do it.
I'm out, then he's out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can't say, no, man. I mean,
and I don't think people
take that thing up and get in there.
And people aren't condemning Antonio Brown for saying that he's hurt. And now listen, I've always been told there's three sides to every story. Mm-hmm. There's one side, the other side, and the truth. And the truth, exactly. And look, he may have been hurt. He may not have been ready to go in. He may have said, "I'm not ready to go in." But there's also, if he was really truly hurt and he wasn't doing anything, he wasn't performing, then Bruce Arians, who by all accounts I've seen and heard interviews about, he is as much of a player's coach as you possibly can be, right? And if he tells you to go in, then that means that there's been some conversation, or you've been practicing. Or there's been some conversation saying, I can play. I'm available.
I'm dressed.
I'm available, right? And like maybe you're on a pitch count. Maybe you don't have as many plays. And so I'm not willing to say, oh yeah, one side's completely right and the other side's completely wrong, or whatever it is. But I do know that these conversations don't just happen on the field at that time. They know going in, okay, what's his limitations going to be? Then they go up to him and they say, hey, are you ready? Are you able to play? Right? They don't just say, okay, these are his limitations, go in. No. You know going in what the expectation is going to be. Right? So I don't know what happened. And Antonio Brown had every motivation to play.
Right.
He had $1 million on the line in bonuses that he could have reached. And Bruce Arians is going to try to get him that.
They did it last year.
Right. They're going to try to get him that, right? So I'm not saying Bruce is right. I'm not saying Antonio Brown is right. All I'm saying is, regardless of the situation, it does not excuse that behavior after the end of the game. Like, that's just you're on national TV, and that's being shown everywhere, right? And now kids are seeing that, and people who are trying to
You'll see it happen.
They're looking like now. Oh man, Antonio Brown. He's always I always read about him, but like he just did this and he's still playing. Like I can do that. If I don't get my way, I can do that. That's not how that works. Self ownership is the most important thing.
And the reason Antonio Brown probably thinks he can get away with that is how many things Tampa has done to keep him on the team. Like they have moved heaven and earth to make sure he's available for Tom Brady. He moves in with Tom Brady. He does the fake vax card, and they just gets a 3-game suspension. Like everybody, when that happened, and the time and when it happened, they'd be like, "Well, he's out the league, right?" No, suspend him 3 games. The only reason Bruce Arians kicked him off the team the way he did is because he felt disrespected as a coach and as a man.
Well, and
he was like, "I can't have this. Like, there's no world where me as a coach can look at what he just did during a game, during a play that I'm coaching this team, and you think it's about you to that extent." We can't have it. You're not on the team anymore.
And that's the thing is he said when he came back from injury or from the suspension that the team lost, the team didn't have his back, or like he felt like he didn't the team they kind of went their separate ways kind of. They weren't unified. In line like they were before, right? Alignment, that's the big word. And I understand that you may feel that way, but I mean don't you think there's you lie to the you hurt your team by lying about having a fake vax card. Vaccinated or unvaccinated, who cares? Saying that you're vaccinated and going out of your way to have a fake card, and you're on a playoff. You're trying to go back to back and win a Super Bowl. Tom Brady stuck his that's not good optics. I don't care about what went on behind it. Like if you lied about it and you did that and you got suspended, of course they're going to be pissed off with you. It's okay to be. You can mend those fences, but it's not. I don't know, man. It's just there's a lot. I just don't understand. I don't understand some people's mindsets and thoughts.
Bruce Arians and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown has released the text messages between him and Bruce Arians.
Of course he did.
I don't know if this does AB any favors, but 20 minutes ago on Twitter. It is My Sports Update. At My Sports Update has tweeted him out. This is from the day before the game, or a couple of days before the game. Bruce Arians texts AB and says, "Hey, look, this is BA. Make sure you're ready to go tomorrow. We are not resting for the playoffs." AB says, "Call me on Friday," and it doesn't look like he did. And Antonio Brown texts him, "I'm all in, coach. Really can't wait to go full speed. Want to win, want to be there. If I wake up tomorrow feeling better, I'll be ready. Kind of rolled it outside on the 2-point play. I want what's best for the team. Let me know when you're free, and I'll call you." Arians says, "Come see me in the morning. We'll talk it out. Definitely want you with us in case you're ready."
We're doing good.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, that's all that was been released.
Well, that's my thing. There's so much context that's missing there.
Is this real?
There's so many. And did they give you timestamps? Did he say when those text messages were sent? You know what I mean? When was that? And this is his lawyer. This lawyer is.
These pictures look photoshopped. Is this real?
I don't know, dude. I mean, I just
have no idea.
This looks like I'm just saying the picture looks like he's about to put it on a website. This looks.
But here's my thing,
done.
This doesn't condemn anyone. This doesn't make Bruce Arians say he was wrong or
right.
There's no context. Nobody knows how that conversation went in the morning. Nobody knows if he called or he didn't call. I don't know. That's so freaking stupid. So dumb. It's just
What are you gonna do, Mikey? You're the GM.
It's not the GM. It's just there's no. This stuff like this should not be put out. It should be dealt with internally, right? There shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It's like a trial by public. You don't want to be found guilty by public opinion. You don't want to. If there's an issue, you go into the room and you hash it out, just like BA was telling him. And I don't know what happened in that conversation, but obviously something happened to the extent where BA thought he was okay to go in the game. That's all. I mean, that's what it makes me feel like, and maybe Antonio Brown may have not felt good in the game and didn't tell anybody. And then when he was time to go, and he said he didn't want to go. And Bruce Arians probably thought that he was just doing some of the same antics, and maybe there's a miscommunication, but that falls on both people.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, look, man, you can't act like that as a professional on the field, like like Antonio Brown did, and I think this story is long from over. I really do. I think that this is going to be
every story with Antonio Brown is long from over. You know,
but I do think that he's played his last football.
I agree. I mean, look, if you're not going to be able to make it with Tom Brady,
yeah, that is my reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way.
Think about the structure he's had around him that he's blown up. Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest, I would say.
Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season in his career. 15 straight 500-plus seasons. That's outrageous.
So I think he knows how to handle a locker room. Bill Belichick, I think he knows how to handle a locker room. And then you have Tom Brady at your every beck and call trying to get you on the football field, and you still manage to screw it up. Like, that's on the track record is the track record. I mean, how good is he? He's good enough to where he took this many chances on him, but now I think he's at the end of his rope. Yeah. The real story here is Danny Boy hustle hard. Because how do you get that
Hey,
job?
Good for that guy.
How do you become an Uber driver like that? How do you become like for the stars? How do you get into that? Just do stuff for them that you probably shouldn't do for anybody else.
Or you drive a guy and like
call Danny.
You drive a guy and like you give him, hey man, call me. Like, here's my card, call me, and then he just puts the Uber thing on and he just goes get something. You know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, why him? He must have does he know is he the fastest? He's the best.
I don't know.
He was because he posts them all. He has his own Instagram. And he's rolling with
Danny
the stars.
Boy hustle hard, baby. He's hustling hard. He's doing what he's doing.
He has Odell in there. He's on the list. AB's on the list. He's got he rolls deep in the
How about AB is still in New York? He was courtside at the Nets game.
He might be a giant by the end of this thing.
A jet.
A jet. Give me the fucking snack.
I mean, he is an unbelievable talent, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's still getting the chances.
Look, his last game before was 11 catches.
I know.
He's a stud.
He is. All right, we appreciate you for joining us here on this Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. Make sure you like, share, comment on the post.
Thank you. How was your drive to Lafayette yesterday?
My drive to Lafayette. Oh man, I forgot about that. So,
we both have an issue.
My mind runs 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I think about 5 different things. Right. So when I'm leaving here. Right, the route that I go here is getting onto Nicholson and going all the way down Nicholson to my neighborhood. And I knew I was going to Lafayette, which I go to Lafayette 1,000,000 times, leaving going through Nicholson, whatever. And so I get a phone call happens. I start talking. I lose my train of thought. Next thing I know, I'm driving, and I'm supposed to be on the interstate, and I'm passing walk-ons.
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow. Where am I?
What am I doing? And so I make the little, I get
vehicle the whole time.
The whole time I'm driving, and I'm went 10 minutes out of my way, the opposite direction of the interstate. I need to go on the interstate. And so I make the loop, and I go back, and I call Lloyd. I'm like, man, I got to tell you what just happened to me just now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I relief meted up or need to get relief meted up or what's going on, but I literally was supposed to go on the interstate, and my mind went blank, and I was going home.
But this has made me think about this conversation. I was thinking about it last night because Mikey and I are both directionally challenged,
very bad with directions.
So bad. And Mike,
this had nothing to do with me not knowing where I was going.
I know how to get to Lafayette too.
Yeah, right.
But when we get to those spots, I always use Waze on my phone just because of Baton Rouge traffic. You want to check and see if there's alternate ways you can kind of sleuth around. And so it made me think if there was one app you could only have on your phone, which one would you pick? And I think that would have to pick Waze.
It'd have to be Waze.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if I was put in a situation where I had no internet, no GPS, and I had to look at a map, I'd be fucked.
That happened to me.
You'd end up in New Mexico.
I'd not be in a good spot. If I had to go off of memory, especially
no chance.
No chance. I don't know. And look, my father-in-law is the best at directions. Right? He's been on the water.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Andy, where am I going? Oh, you need to go east up to here.
Yeah.
You go. I'm like, I don't even know where east is.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me streets and hey, when you get here, you go right.
Left or right.
I don't need east, north. I can't do it. And that's the running joke in the family. Allie's like, Dad, I know where I'm going, but when you say, hey, go northeast, I don't know what the fuck northeast, where northeast is.
Jared
I don't have a compass. I know my car says it, but I don't
I'm not looking
I don't know
at
that. Yeah, that's
I
not.
don't even trust it.
You know, that's probably my issue. I probably should learn how to do that. You know.
Yeah.
Is this really Northeast?
Come on, Bo.
Yeah. What's going on here? But it's I'm learning. I'm
All right, make sure to hit the like and share button. Have a good Thursday. We appreciate you being there with us here on this Thursday morning. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Go Chevrolet drives us every day.
My buddies, we left the movie theater one time, and they were like, Lloyd, drive us home without any, we're not going to say anything. You can't use your phone. You can't do anything. And I left the movie theater. We probably lived 8 minutes away. I was about to get on the interstate to New Orleans. They're like, we can't do this anymore. Like, dude, pull the car over. Never mind. We're not going to New Orleans tonight.
My best friend,
So bad.
Bo, my best friend, I'm notorious for driving, and like him not telling me where I was going in college, and I would take the wrong turn. He's like, "Where are you going?" "Oh, I'm just gonna go." Like making excuses of why. I'm like, "You just like, no, I don't
know where I'm going.
Just,
Dude,
I was
help
trying
me
to,
out.
yeah, I was trying to help this. I was trying to fix it.
Oh, this is a way I know.
I was trying to get away from traffic.
You're going the wrong way.